All right. All right. Well, do the intro.
No, it's your week this week.
Oh, it's my week.
Yeah.
Oh, what's up, guys? Back for episode 4 today, and we got a special guest, Quinton, that just competed at the New York Pro. Uh, and he's going to talk to us about his upcoming badminton career today. So let's go right at it. How has your week been since the New York Pro finished?
The week has been interesting. Like I'm usually in a pretty good mood. First of all, let me backtrack. I'm eating more food. I'm doing less cardio, so just physiologically, I feel way better.
Okay.
My workouts feel like workouts. So like, there's a lot of positives. There's definitely a lot of positives. I got my feet wet. I got back onto the stage, even though it wasn't what I wanted and things went wrong. I'm back. I'm back. I got the if there was any sort of jitters, any sort of nerves, they're gone now.
Yeah.
They're gone. That was the biggest stage that I could have possibly went on at this point.
Yeah.
And yeah. But honestly, I didn't even feel nervous. I felt fine. So uh, I am pissed off because obviously, like when I look back at the pictures and the videos, like it was a good look, but it was very small. It was very downsized. Matt and I have spoken about it. We definitely missed with this one, and yeah, like I hold myself to a high standard, man. I think I'm better than a lot of people at bodybuilding. I think obviously everyone knows about the potential, but I think that with the muscle tissue that I put on this off season, I really believed that I was going to be something else, and we didn't bring that to the stage. So for me, it's a letdown, and my punishment is having 155-pound commenters telling me that I need to retire, switch to classic.
When you initially got pissed, like was it right away in the moment on stage when you're not in that top four call out, or is it like after you reflect on the look that like brought that like kind of anger that you had coming out of it?
Well,
So yeah, go on, go on.
I'll even backtrack a bit more. Like, did you know that things were maybe not going to go the way you would want to before going on stage and being backstage looking at the other guys? Or was it like a total surprise while on stage?
No, so I think I'm like one of the best clients possible because like my eyes don't matter. Like it's just my coach's eyes. That's all I
Okay.
kind of see things through. If my coach says good, we're happy, this is right where we want to be. That's all I see. Like obviously I can see like certain things were flat at certain times, but whatever my coach told me, like it gave me the confidence to like all I got to do is get up there and do my little dance. That's it. All I got to do is focus on hitting the poses and have the proper energy. So I prepped myself before, and that process of like trying to gauge whether you're this, you're that, that was so stressful. And that's why I hire a coach, right? So I thought we were good. I didn't really know what it looked like until I saw some stage shots.
Okay.
The moment I got pissed was, yeah, on stage when they called the top four and I wasn't in there. I was like, what the fuck? And like,
Mm.
I was like pissed off at the side, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm a good sport. I'm a good sport. And I'm like, listen, it is what it is. I'll fight my way to the top. So then when they called me on, I just went on there and I was happy to be to be there. And I just had fun, and I hit my poses and I did what I was supposed to. And it's funny because they actually had me on the outside and then I worked my way on the inside. So they
That
really
was my
did.
favorite part to watch, like because
Yeah.
I think it's easy when you're in that scenario and you have that type of like expectation to be like gutted when you're not there and have that reflect in your posing. But when Sarah and I were watching it together, we were like, man, Quinton is getting better and better as he poses. And maybe that's getting fuller on stage and having like a better look come through like with the posing, or maybe just like getting your confidence going. And then for them to kind of move you like obviously into the middle of that the second call out, then there was a point in time where I was like, hey, maybe he could have a shot of calling the other four guys back in and being compared. Did you think that that was a possibility? And is that something that you obviously you wanted that to happen? But um, were you disappointed you didn't have the opportunity to do that?
Yeah, I think I was disappointed. I mean, I knew I was fighting for fifth place at that point, but even the other guy that actually placed fifth, they didn't even compare him to the top four. Like,
Mhm.
how do you know four is better than five if you don't put them beside each other? So I did have like a little bit of like, regardless, like initially I was upset. I'm like, what's going on? Like, what are the judges like? Like, what's the problem? I didn't know what it was. But
Mhm.
then once, I think when the first Gilco video of my presentation came out and I looked at it, I'm like, I understand, I was small. So that being said, I still think I was better than certain guys in the top five. And I think if you put me beside certain guys, I would have exposed them. However, I came in, the condition was decent. My look, I have a good look. I'm aesthetic, but I came in too small. So at the end of the day, now when I look back at it, I think the placing they gave me is fair. And yeah, it's bittersweet though. I wish they still would have compared me because I still think that waist would have exposed a couple of those dudes.
Mhm.
But it is what it is.
On to the next one.
Yes, sir.
And now, since stepping off stage, well, first of all, like, I think at first you were in the second call out, right? Which was, they called six guys and then they had other, like you and other people, right? So I do feel like you moved up. Well, you moved in front of Angel, right? In those call
Mhm.
outs. When that happened, did that felt like a small victory, or were you like, that's still not where I want to be?
I mean, for me, I'm like, well, thank goodness. I was happy because in the Texas Pro 2022, I lost to Kamal like a
Yeah.
212er. And I'm like, man, if I lose to another 212er, man. So yeah, getting in front of him definitely. I mean, I think I would have been on suicide watch if I lost. I'm joking. But, it definitely made me feel good. But yeah, it wasn't what I wanted. But I mean,
Yeah.
shit, like ahead of him is better than being behind him.
Yeah, you get those small victories and you just focus on that in the moment, right?
I think we talked about this going into it too. Like you have such a unique look in that lineup that it
Mhm.
almost becomes difficult to compare against because like
Yeah.
even like Angel for instance, like he's obviously so much shorter than you, he's like crazy hard and dense, and then you just have this long flowing physique, so it's like it's comparing like such a different look to each other. And that's why I think, to your point, like it would be interesting to see you, like I would like to see you beside Stu, you know what I mean, because
Yeah.
he has that tight compact hard physique and you carried a lot of height and size over him. I think it would have been an interesting comparison to make, but hopefully, you get more and more opportunities to do that against the top guys moving forward this season.
So I have a comment to make about Stu. I think Stu looked great. Stu is one of those guys. He's got good width. He's big and he's pretty dense, like for a young guy. He's like
Yeah.
25 or some shit. Congrats, Stu, on a great showing. I think we competed together at the Tampa Pro 2 years ago. And Tampa Pro, I think that was his pro debut. So he's gotten better. He's definitely gotten better. He's
Mhm.
young, right? But I beat him there. Then I took 2 years off and he competed last year. And for me, what was fucking me up is like, it's not because I don't think he's good. It's because I'm like, I took 2 years off. How the fuck? I said to him, like, how the fuck did I lose to this guy when I take a 2 year off season and he's been active? I'm like, and I didn't see the pictures yet. I didn't know what happened or what it looked like. I'm just like, how was I better then? But I'm supposed to be better now. And I remember like that was like one of the first thoughts that was like kind of fucking with me. I'm like, what is like? I'm like, am I just not built for bodybuilding? Is there something like? Is people saying this that I have the potential to do this and that? I'm like, maybe I don't, because again, I didn't understand at that point that I lost a bunch of muscle. I thought I came in and improved. So with the improvements that I thought I had made, I was just so shocked. I'm like, how did I regress? So yeah, it was, man, I had a really hard time for the first little while. And honestly, those Gilco Productions videos really painted a good picture for me of like why it happened.
Yeah, they don't hide much with the 4K, right? Like they're pretty clear, right?
So
Because the day of the show, sorry, I'll just say this quick. The day of the show, as I was going through like my mentions, the pictures, everything I was tagged, I'm like, I look good. I'm like, I look good there. Like, I'm like, what's the problem? But the video definitely exposed it.
I'm interested now in like the dynamic of when you're there with Matt and you get to New York and you're training with Nick and sort of what that feels like. Because obviously at that point, like you guys are going to go up against each other, but you're on the same team with Matt. And then how does that flow through to like, you know, Nick obviously super confident, has the expectation to win. He does that. You're obviously not happy with how you did at the show. Is there like any difference in feeling from pre-show? Obviously for you, yes, but pre-show to post-show in terms of like how you guys are interacting with each other? Like, is it a little bit maybe hostile at the beginning because you guys know you got to compete against each other, and then after it's more like friendly, or is there any kind of change in dynamic between the two of you guys?
So me and Nick have always been pretty cool. We've at times we speak more, at times we don't speak as much. But this past week, he really showed like his character really was highlighted. Like he was super friendly, very nice. There was no sort of ego whatsoever, which I never know what to expect, right?
Right, right.
With other competitors, because I'm not the kind of person that's going to be like, oh, buff up my chest because we're going against each other. But man, his attitude, it was good. Like we meshed well, we hung out, we trained together. We were posing in the same room together. We exchanged compliments and stuff. Like it was all chill. We would check in with Matt in the same hotel rooms. So like, yeah, no, it was all good. And even after the show, the next morning, I went to breakfast with them, and I got the chance because after the show it was a bit of a mess, right?
Yeah.
So I got a chance to like before I left the show, I went up to all the guys in the top five because I wanted to get out of there a bit earlier, and I shook all their hands. I said, "Good job, guys," and I said, "Good job," and I moved on. And then the next morning, I saw Nick, and I congratulated him on his win at the breakfast. So everything was like the energy was really good there. I mean, obviously, I was disappointed in myself, but at that point, I still didn't know what the problem was. Like, I still had no clue.
Yeah, it takes a lot of like, looking back and soul searching too, I think. And you go through so many different thoughts, like you were talking about. What did the night look like after the show? Did you do anything, or did you just kind of shut it down and say, like, I'm
So,
tired of shit?
so let me tell you, all right. So me and my friend Lucy, we're looking for like some food like I first of all I smashed a couple muffins, and then we were looking for some food. She's talking like, oh, you keep talking about fried chicken, let's go to Popeyes. I'm like, okay, maybe we were thinking about going to sushi. Then I'm like, you know what, we just go to McDonald's.
No, that's a Jama Hassan. That's a classic. That's his go-to every time.
Yo,
What did you have at McDonald's?
bro, I got 20-piece nuggets. I got like two McDoubles with Big Mac sauce. I got large fries, and had some kai cookies with me, which I shouldn't have had. I shouldn't have brought with me, but I
Those are
smashed.
always such a bad idea.
I know. You feel it instantly too.
Oh
So
yeah.
I had those, and yeah, maybe three muffins, and then I had vodka because it was a part of the peak week protocol, and I finished like half the bottle of the vodka.
with the nuggets.
Yes.
Did you wake up
I,
the next morning looking crazy though, eh?
I looked pretty good the next morning. I did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Vodka
yeah,
and
because I
chicken
was still
nuggets.
dry. I was still dry because of the alcohol.
Yeah, for sure. That's amazing. I love that. McDonald's, it honestly sounds so trash, but it's probably like the best thing to have.
You know what I've always
You know what
loved?
you're gonna get. Like
Oh
you know
yeah,
what
for
you're
sure. Yeah. One thing I always loved post show is going to the Chinese buffet, because then you can have like a bit of everything.
You're like a
So
gonna.
Pizza Hut guy, though, aren't you, Julian? Don't you always get Pizza Hut?
no, not post show.
Really? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I thought you were a Pizza
post
Hut guy.
post post show. I'm like, I don't know what I want. So if I can have like a bit of everything. I feel it's the
Mm.
best.
Oh, that's
The
fair.
the buffet is a bad idea though, because you could just keep going back for more. Like it never
Yeah.
ends, you know.
Yeah, but I have a small appetite, so I'm good.
Quinton's like king of not finishing it too. Did you eat everything, Q, or were you, did you leave some? Did you leave some behind?
Bro, because it was like peak week, and because I was so like over dieted, I ate everything.
You
I finished
smashed it.
everything.
Good, good. I'm glad.
It was like I have to.
I had to, man. Fuck, I
Just
needed
because
it.
I'm super hungry too. What did you have for breakfast? I want to hear about your breakfast too.
So they invited me, and I guess like at this point, Matt and Nick invited me to come to breakfast with them. So I didn't mention what I had the night before because I'm a gluttonous pig and I wanted to eat more.
I'm a
So
closet eater too, dude. For
yeah,
sure.
bro, I honestly we were gonna go for breakfast regardless, but then when he
Yeah.
invited,
Oh yeah.
we'll go meet up with them. So I got two I think 4 slices of French toast, and it was so good. I got this breakfast sandwich with like a sausage and egg and some stuff with it, and there was those they call the home fries.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
man, they
Ooh.
were so good at this place. Oh my goodness. And I think that was it. But then I remember Nick's brother, his fiance, or his wife, sorry, she had like these breakfast tacos that she didn't finish, and she's like, if anybody wants them, because she's pregnant, right? So she didn't have an appetite. She had 2 of them. She couldn't eat. She's like, if anybody wants them, and I'm just like, but Matt's there, so I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna do it.
Because at that point you thought you were competing again the next weekend, right?
Yes, exactly.
True.
Yeah.
True. And then did you headed home after that, or did you stay in New York longer?
Yeah, pretty much like once my Airbnb, got my stuff together and got the hell out of there.
Nice.
Okay. Uh, Obviously, we're going to talk about Toronto, but I want to talk a bit more about New York. Obviously, like you were on stage, you were backstage. What did I, and I do feel like that's a big talk of the New York Pro is what did you think of Martin? Like, where do you see him placing at the Olympia or stuff like that?
Martin, it's funny because like I don't see him for like long periods of time. I see him at these shows and I forget how much I like him. Like, he's super like I don't know, like I know he's like talked shit to people and he's had his little controversies, but like he's so pleasant, man. He was like the most talkative. He had such high energy. He was so happy. He was just like a treasure to be around. Um, he looked decent. Like from backstage, I think he's one of those people. Like when he gets into the pose, that's when it looks like
Okay.
more crazy. Like
Mhm.
walking around, like backstage, I didn't think anything of anybody, to be honest. Like
Okay.
not that anyone did impressive, but I think when I saw the pictures of the show or when I saw on the monitor and I saw him being compared to Nick, I'm like, holy fuck, this guy looks pretty crazy. I think he can probably like. I mean, Tonio was 8th. I think Martin could potentially make it in the top 5, top 6 this year.
Which is a big jump. And
Huge.
seeing that, how old is Martin? Do
I
you
want to
know?
say he's like 7, maybe.
Okay. And how old are you?
I'm 29.
Okay. So seeing the progress that someone can make in such a short time period, and obviously like you're placing right now, I don't feel reflects where your physique really stands right now. Does that does looking at other people's success motivate you, or you're always just focused on yourself and that's it?
I'm more like just self-focused,
Okay.
but if I do think about, since you brought it up, I mean, yeah, it is pretty inspiring to see him go from. I mean, he was already really good 2 years ago, and if he picked the right show, then he would have won a show. But he's made improvements like in a very even manner across
Yeah.
his whole physique. So at first, when you see it, you might not notice because like there's not one thing that like jumps out,
Yeah.
but it's all good. It's all good, and the condition is
Mhm.
on point.
Yeah. I
A
feel
lot of
that's
people thought he should win, right?
what, sorry?
A lot of people were saying he should have won, right?
A lot of people
Ah,
preferred his look, I think. Again, he has like tighter waist and those kinds of things, so maybe a more pleasing shape than Nick would. So it's all the people that want that like more pleasing look versus like the freak kind of look. But Definitely some people, I mean, it was a 1 point decision, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anyone doing Toronto that also did New York too? Do you know?
Well, I'm thinking Tim Budashai is probably going to
Yes, he's
do
not.
it. And I mean, I'm guessing if Stu doesn't win Cali, I'm guessing, or Tonio, I'm guessing one of the two might fly to Toronto and do that.
Tonio's already qualified though, no?
Nope.
No.
No, he's not. Okay.
No. So, because both Tonio and Stu are doing Cali, I personally think Tonio is going to win. So I'm guessing you're going to have a rematch against Stu in Toronto.
I don't think Stu's gonna do Toronto. He was
No?
telling me, yeah, we were talking backstage, and he told me about his expenses and stuff, and like the Toronto trip is just like for him it's too expensive. So I think Chicago makes more sense for him, something like
Okay.
that.
Okay, that
I
makes
heard like
sense.
it's like really
Vancouver's not
expensive to fly, right? It's really expensive to fly up here or something like that.
bad
And
right now, yeah.
yeah,
Well,
Yeah.
am I stupid
So
for not understanding why it's more expensive to fly from New York to Toronto than from Toronto to New York? Like, I feel like it's the same price for us, no?
when Toronto to New York wasn't cheap, wasn't expensive actually, but I think he's from Washington or whatever. There's like two Washingtons, right?
yeah, it's
The
Yeah.
confusing.
Washington,
Yeah.
yeah, that's where he said he's from, and I think the flights there to
Okay.
Toronto are expensive.
Okay, that makes sense. All right. So I would like for you to kind of walk us through your ups and downs from after the show. Like, if you're able to, like, were there moments where you were like, fuck it, I'm done with bodybuilding? Or there are moments where like, I need to change everything? Like, if you can just kind of walk us through your ups and downs.
Yeah. So man, okay, this is gonna be a long one.
Yeah, and if you
So
can start after prejudging, I guess.
yeah, at first I was mad at the judges. I'm like, man, what the like? Yeah, I'm like, what the fuck are they? Like, I was so mad. I didn't know. I thought he came improved. Like just looking at like it, I'm just thinking of it like a numbers guy. You know, I looked like this 2 years ago. I took this time to grow. I'm 100% better now. I'm 100. Like, there's no way I am not better. And then, like, to get placed so far back, I was like, what the fuck? So there was that. Uh, I mean, other than that, other than the actual placing, I liked how I looked at the time, and I had fun when I was on stage. I had a lot of fun, and I just tuned out all the negative stuff. The next day, I was like, I just felt embarrassed, because I hold myself to a high standard, and I was so far from from where I wanted to be and where I worked so hard to be. So I was like, man, I just felt so embarrassed. And then the fucking comments started pouring in, the posts from the bodybuilding pages. Phil Viz started commenting. Phil Viz was, he's like, oh, he looked better 2 years ago. He's like, he said, personally, I think he should go back to Dory and blah, blah, blah. And at first, I'm just reading all this shit. And I'm getting pissed off. The guy I worked with for posing, he like was mad at me because I didn't hit the poses the way he wanted me to. And I'm like, well, my coach fucking told me not to. What do you like? It's my coach. I'm gonna listen to
Yeah.
my coach because I pay more money to my coach than a posing coach, right?
Yeah.
And like, listen, I did it this way. If it didn't work, I look at the pictures, maybe I don't like it. Then for the next show, I can go to the other way.
Yeah.
But listen, I was just trying to be a good client at the end of the day. So I just listened to everything I was told. Um, I started seeing people post comparison pics of me a couple years ago and then me at the show at the New York. And then I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, the fact that they're able to debate whether I was better before is bad. And then I
Yeah.
started getting upset. What the fuck? I'm like, like, how did I spend 2 years in the off season, damn near dying in my sleep before I got the CPAP? I was so fucking big, I couldn't, like, I damn near, I was flirting with death. I was getting so big. I'm lifting all these weights. I'm on more PD than before. How did I go through all of this shit to be compared to what I was 2 years ago? So I started to get like really frustrated. I'm like, how the fuck did this happen? Like, like, how did we not see, like, how did I not see this? And like, why didn't I say something? Why didn't I,
Did you
because,
have
I
anyone
look,
there that was like a voice of reason for you that like maybe reached out or like you kind of counseled with said like anything good to you that stuck with you after the show, or was it just kind of like a lot of messages that maybe you didn't want to hear, like maybe people just trying to say like, oh, like sorry for your placing, those kinds of things? I know you got
yeah.
some of those, and and you don't want to hear that kind of thing at that point, right?
Bro, I mean, people are like, congrats on getting back on stage. I wanted to take something and smack it, bro.
Yeah.
That's like fucking, that's participation medal type shit, bro. Don't congratulate me. I don't deserve no fucking congratulations. I came fucking sixth. I came sixth place. There is no fucking check for sixth place. You don't get shit, all right? There's no medal. There's nothing, bro. Fuck sixth place. Don't congratulate me for that shit, all right? That was one thing. That was one thing. Another thing is people are like, oh, you just need more size, man. You need more size.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm like, more size? Do you know what I went through this past year? And like, it just wasn't clicking. It didn't click that like we burned a lot of muscle. It took time for me to realize the 2 hours of cardio, like that, this is what fucked it. Like, this is what fucked, like we pushed too hard, not enough food. That was the problem. But when in that moment, I wasn't there yet. So I'm like, how could you tell me more size? Like, I just did it too. Like, what you want me to be in a 5-year off season? And even at rate with the weight gain to this show, a 5-year off season, I would have only put on like 5 pounds. So, it just, yeah, we definitely like fucked up. And it's unfortunate because, for me, I think it hurts my brand until I redeem myself. Like it's very hard to, like, people are laughing at me. They're saying I should do classic physique. I saw this one comment. I blocked this piece of shit. He told me, he's like, yo, you either need to retire or go to classic. And he said it in fucking Portuguese. I'm like, fuck you, man. Get out of here. I blocked him. But it's like this performance, it brought these motherfuckers out of the woodworks. And I can't blame them because they're just going based off what they see. And what they see is I'm not big enough and I wasted 2 years, right? But yeah, it's like
there's those guys waiting for that moment, though. You know what I mean? They're just waiting in the
Yeah.
whims, man, for something to jump on, and the trolls come out hard, man. So I think it's kind of something in your corner where you're like, man, I'm gonna fucking silence you guys. Like, I'll show you guys. You know what I mean? Like, you can add it to sort of your moving forward game plan.
But now another thing about the ups and downs is like I've been through that before when I first started, and I finally shut those guys up in 2021. Or like in 2022, I didn't get one classic comment. So I was like, yes, I finally did it. I beat the classic allegations, man. I did it. I'm big enough, and they fucking come back in 2024 and they're back.
It's crazy though, because even if you won that show, there'd be someone waiting to talk shit. Like even like Nick won the show. It's like people are talking about his waist and veins in his legs and stuff. Like, it never ends, right? So like no matter what, you're always gonna have someone talking shit. But I think if you can take that and like just use it in a positive way as like a push for you. Like there's certain things that push me too, and I'm like, if I hear something, I'm like, I don't react to it, but I'm like, I'm just gonna keep that here,
Yeah.
because this fucking pisses me off and I'll use it later. But yeah, you got a lot of that after this show. So.
And I've been petty, man. I've been replying to them. I've been fucking like trolling them in my Q&As.
It's good though, man.
But
people care though too, right? Like it's better to be talked about than not be talked about at all, right?
Yeah. Like the Phil Viz thing, at first I was like annoyed. I'm like, I'm gonna show him. But then as I was starting to think and I looked at some pictures from before, I'm like, you know what? He actually like I was debatably better 2 years ago. So I can't actually be too mad at him. Like, and him saying that I was better in the Texas show than this show, that's his opinion. And like, it's comparable. Like, even though I might think New York was better, the fact that it's comparable means like he has some merit to his argument. So like, the more I think, I'm like, all these people that are saying things that I don't like, they have some substance behind it. And I think that's what pisses me off even more. But we just gotta make sure that we redeem this. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, are you like you can't wait to get back up on stage now?
Yes, exactly. I'm excited. I mean, the one thing that I'm like kind of like confused or concerned about is I don't know, like I don't think there's an actual like calculation as to like how to build muscle back. You know, like I know that there's muscle memory and you will build muscle back, but like I just don't know like how soon or how much of it can you build in X amount of time, and will there be extra water weight with that build? You know, like I don't know that process, but I do know 100% we're going to be better and a lot fuller in Toronto.
This is an impossible question, but out of 100%, what do you think is what you call like muscle lost versus fullness? Because you think you could be fuller on stage. Like, do you think that the fullness was a bigger piece, or do you think like you actually lost tissue dieting down through that prep?
I think I lost a lot of tissue. I think like if you see the pictures of me days before the show, I was full at the show. Like
Mhm.
I was pretty full. I was pretty full with the downsized physique that I had. Like to put it into perspective, the Tampa Pro 2 years ago, I went into that peak week around 270 pounds. Like the lowest I got to that week was like 267.
Hmm.
New York Pro this year, I went into peak week at 260. So there's like a 7 to 10 pound difference. So like after 2 years of training hard in the off season, more PD, there's no way I didn't build muscle. There's no way I didn't build, like, I mean, apparently I have the best genetics in the world, right? Like, I mean, I don't think I do, but I have decent genetics for bodybuilding. I must have at least built a couple pounds of muscle within that time frame. So for me to be at 260, like that's just muscle lost.
Do you feel like there was a time, say from 6 weeks out to the show day, where you could kind of pinpoint that you feel that's where you started kind of losing muscle at whatever rate? Because I feel like there was a point where you look pretty big all around, and then it started just
The crazy thing is, I see Quinton every other day at the gym, and he's humongous.
yeah.
So like, it's so crazy to think that like it's like a size thing, that's a crazy thing to me.
Okay,
Well,
sorry, I'm not being rude. This was on April 2nd. So I believe this was
yeah.
like 6 weeks out.
Do you remember
This,
what weight you were?
I believe, let me go through. I want to say like low 280s.
Okay.
Let me go through the chat.
Just go get more McDonald's tonight.
Yeah.
We'll get you back to low 280s pretty quick, but
Yeah. Just be bursting full on stage.
Yeah, so I was 280 point. Okay, sorry, those pictures were sent to me. So I think the day, okay, I trained chest on the Tuesday. So I was 282 that day. That's
Okay.
282 pounds. Now my glutes were not striated yet. Let me see if I have any pictures of glutes there.
That's the big,
They
that's
weren't.
something you posted 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah, I posted one of them like kind of recently. Like I wasn't like my
Yeah.
conditioning still didn't work, but I was in a place where we were seeing like good progress. We were seeing pretty good progress, and I think there was different points in the prep where he like we were making progress, and I'm like, okay, cool, cool. I sent check-ins like we need more fat loss, and he expedited, let's say, the cardio or the cutters, and I was like, fuck, like we're seeing
Yeah.
progress, right? But at the same time, I'm like, all right, whatever. I guess we're just gonna get leaner faster, which is what we
Mhm.
want, and maybe fill out later. But you know, I think now in hindsight, because I've been through not this same thing with Dorian, but I've been through the when we tried to do the classic physique thing like in 2019,
Yeah.
when we did that hard cut, I'll show you. I actually have the pictures here too. We did that hard cut to try and like get to classic, and where's the fucking layout? I don't know if you can see this. This is like 2 weeks apart, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
like the pop is gone. Like it's gone.
Yeah.
You know, here's
This guy
another
was
one.
at the gym with like he was on the stretch table. They had like this height, like Rudy brought like an official scale in for Quinton. Like they were trying to do everything for this
Yeah,
guy to make weight.
yeah, you can see. Well, I mean, just looking at your
That's
Instagram,
crazy.
and maybe you can kind of tell me if you feel that makes sense. Um, I feel like at this point, you still had most of your size.
When was this?
This
Well,
was maybe like around 2 weeks,
yeah, that
or
was
maybe a week and
posted a week ago, but you never know with Q, right?
Oh yeah, that's
a
true.
half.
So,
But
and
my
and
legs
I,
were downside though.
yeah, a
They were full
bit,
because
but I feel like the difference between that picture and this one is the biggest
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
see. Like if you look at like all this compared to this, to me that's probably like where you like the time frame in which you lost the most muscle. I'm guessing you got flat and stayed flat for a bit more time at that point.
yeah. Yeah, I think at this point I was maybe with this high day, I think I crept back into the 270s, like around 270.
Yeah.
But I was in
It's
the 260. I was maintaining 260s around this time,
okay.
and I was doing 2 hours of cardio. Like, bro, my legs. I think without this amount of cardio, my legs will be crazy. Like they'll be really good.
Yeah.
And I don't like they're the quality of them, like the quad detail and stuff was good, but I think like even in that picture, I think I that was still like it was a high day, but I think I still, if we didn't push too hard, I would have been even bigger.
Okay. And leading up to Toronto now, like what's the plan with the cardio? Like, are you doing any, just maintaining? Because obviously I don't feel like you need to get any leaner. So like, do you know like what's the plan for the next 3 weeks?
We're doing 30 minutes of cardio.
Okay.
So that's all we're doing. And
That's
it's
nothing for
better
you.
now. Oh man, it's so much nicer. Like the thing is I can burn so much more during the cardio session because I have more energy. So like I feel like the effectiveness is better. Like my workout effectiveness is much better. Like I can like I could right now I could squeeze, I could contract my pec. Bro, I couldn't just contract my
You
pec.
couldn't flex them, right?
It couldn't feel shit. You know, like when I would pose, it was just I mean, it's funny because when you're in that position, you think you could. You think you have a pump, but then but you don't.
Yeah. Because it's just better than the day before, right? But it's still not
Mhm.
like where it needs to be.
It's interesting, like from looking from the outside, like a contradictory thing would be like what I heard you on Fuad's podcast saying basically like you took pride in doing the most amount of work,
Yes.
but perhaps more was not better. And then you also have the ideology of like you're training 4 days a week, you're training less to get more. So like it's such a fine line in bodybuilding of like obviously doing too much and like negating that return versus like getting more out of less. And like I think that with where your physique got to, like when you see that pick in the posing room, it's like you start to see like smoothness to certain areas, right? And you have such a round, bubbly physique. And like when you lose like a little bit of like your quad sweep, it takes away from like just how ridiculous your X frame is. Because
Yes.
like even the fullness to like the inner like the adductor kind of area, like when those are like really like your strengths, your predominant strength, it makes the waist look more exaggerated. It makes your arms look bigger when they're fuller. So if you have that fullness, it just like again, it's like, are you gonna trade all the fullness for shredded glutes and be like razor sharp glutes? Or can you have both eventually? Maybe, but maybe the right look now is like fuller and like not caring so much about shredded glutes. Like if it's a prerequisite to have them and you have to have them, that's one thing. But if there's a lot of guys that have one without them, and I wonder if you bring a fuller look, I don't think it's going to take that long to, and you're probably way fuller right now, I'm guessing, to carry that onto the stage in Toronto. And I think that'll be really interesting, and hopefully, you're able to nail it, in Toronto. But it's just like you're gonna have a different look, which has got to be exciting.
Yeah, the thing is, when I did that podcast with Fuad, that was before the show, right? And before the show, I had like 100% faith, like, obviously in like the legend of my coach, right? Which
Mhm.
is speaking 100%. And I didn't expect to be 100% though. I just expected to be close, like maybe 88 at the lowest. I expected us to like really like, I expected it to be at least like a decent. And I don't think it's the actual peak for like the size that I was good. I think it's more so like we just lost too much in the process. But yeah, so my expectation was like high in terms of like I just expected it to go well. So I was like, okay, if this is what I got to do, I got to do it. And I took pride in that work.
Mhm.
But had he told me, yo, we don't need to do that, just do 20 minutes of cardio, I would have taken pride in that too. So it is what it is, but you live and you learn. He's got a lot of. I think the thing about coaching is because we all coach here. Sometimes we won't get it right. Sometimes like it's just a bunch of educated guesses at the end of the day, but it's really what you do with the data that you get. Like once you have a situation where, maybe it was a learning experience, it's like what do you do from there? And I believe that this next one's going to be really good, and the one after that's going to be even better.
To that point, I know your expectation was to, like, you want to get to the Olympia. That
Yeah.
is currently still the goal this year.
Yes,
That's
I
the
mean
same goal.
either that or badminton, man. I'm close. I'm close for sure.
So if you were to guess for Toronto, in what ballpark do you think you would need your weight to be at for you to have your best potential look? Like,
So I was saying something earlier where I said I don't know how much we can
yeah,
recover during this time. So I'm not. I think me and Matt both said in the 270s. So I think
okay.
at least we were 263-ish in New York, at least 7-8 pounds heavier. At least I would assume. But I think in the off season, I projected 275 to 280.
Yeah.
And I think based on where I was a couple years ago and not having an off season this long and all that other jazz, I think let's say we do this, we come in on point and fuller for the Toronto, we win the Toronto. I think we could come to the Olympia at 280.
Oh,
Like
for sure.
no doubt in my mind, we just with the right tactics, 100%.
Yeah.
It's the hardest thing is getting in shape for the first one. And then once like you're in shape and like your metabolism's high and your training's really focused, you get some more food back in, like everything just gets better. I
Yes.
I find anyway. So I think like with that timeline, you can make huge improvements. If you can lock it down in Toronto, and then still a lot of time until the Olympia to really build off of it.
Yeah.
Would you do more shows?
At this point, no. I would have if New York went well, I would have done Cali 2 and
Mhm.
Toronto. Like that's what I wanted to do from the jump.
Okay.
But with that happening, like if again, like I think Hassan and Akeem are doing Toronto, you got to come full with guys like that. You got to come full. And in terms of condition, uh, I don't really know what to say about that. But you got to come full. You got to come full against these guys. And
That's gonna be a fun show to watch. That'll be a lot of fun, man. Because it is gonna be, those guys have completely different looks. They're just like mass monsters, right? So, again, it's gonna be one of those ones where it's like pick what you like kind of thing. But it's different judges too, right? And that definitely plays a role in terms of preference and what they're looking for. But it's probably one of those ones where they're gonna see where you were in New York, and then they want you to make these types of improvements, obviously, next time you step on stage. So if you're way better, or better, then hopefully you should get rewarded for it.
yeah,
It's going to be the same. Oh, go ahead.
is it?
I think, Tyler is going to be there for sure. And I think Rudy was judging Toronto, New York, right?
Is it different for different categories though? Because when I looked, or I talked to Ron about it, he said that Becky Clausen was the head judge.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Unless it's changed, I don't
Yeah.
know. But again, like she's a bikini pro. I don't know. Like I guess
Yeah.
they're capable of judging all classes, but that's what I heard.
Yeah. Well, I was under the impression Tyler was going to be there, but who knows? I mean, Rudy's going to be there for sure. Did you talk to Rudy after the show, Q?
No, I
Or
didn't. I didn't
no?
talk to him. But it's funny because like when I went up there for the first part, when we did the front double, the side poses, and then the back double, and I remembered I think I looked at Rudy at one point when I was on stage, and he actually looked a little disappointed. And he's like, Rudy loves me. I love Rudy. And like he did, I mean, first of all, Steve and them weren't even really looking at me. They were looking in another direction. And that was my first sign of like, oh, something like I thought I looked good, But
Yeah.
Rudy is like super supportive, very loving, very supportive. He wanted to see me do well. And I'm not, maybe he didn't look disappointed. Maybe that was just his look, but that's what I saw. And I'm like, maybe something's wrong with what I came out with. So I definitely feel bad about it for myself, but I love Rudy and I want to make everybody proud. So Toronto's definitely where I change things up.
Yeah. It's good that you have another show that you can redeem yourself at, though. Because, like, if that was like your last show of the season and you were just closing it, then it's like, fuck, I need to wait a year to be
Yeah.
able to prove people wrong.
Yes, yeah,
So,
that would suck.
yeah.
I've done that before.
Yeah.
It was a terrible idea. I should have just did the Cali that year.
So, in terms of peaking, was there something like that you did with Matt that was way different from what you did previously that you really liked or really didn't like, or like anything you want to share that you feel is worth sharing?
Um, before I was used to like loading up, and then having a diuretic like the night before, and maybe like half a diuretic in the middle of the night before the show.
Mhm.
And I mean, I would look decent. I would look decent. It didn't like backfire, but I felt like maybe it felt like a bit of a gamble sometimes.
Yeah.
Now with Matt, he started that drying out process earlier, so we would like do it then like 2 nights before the show. So then you'd wake up like pretty dry. You'd be dry. You'd be like, I think we did like half or a quarter the night, 2 nights before the show, and then like maybe another quarter and a half the day before the show. So we like pulled that and we got really dry, and we just tried to maintain that dryness essentially going into the next day. So I actually kind of like that concept. Now, the problem is I'm just somebody, anytime I even think about a carb, I retain water. So in the morning, I did have a little bit more water, and we had to like, found small ways to pull it without using diuretic. But yeah, just I did like that because the night before the show, I liked how I looked.
Yeah.
Whereas like in the past, I would be so watery because I just hold so much water when I eat a lot of carbs. And then Dorian would be like, man, you'll be fine. And I'd be freaking out, like, bro, I look like shit. I'd be like freaking out, like high cortisol. And then I'd wake up in the morning, like, oh, okay, I look good.
What did you do between prejudging and finals? Because I felt like you were quite a bit better at finals.
Yeah.
We just had a bit more food, not a lot more food. And we did a quarter of a diazide at like 3:30. And, again, kept water low, had some coffee with like 2 ounces of coffee and some little bit of vodka a couple hours before stage to help dry out a bit more. So we just pulled a bit more water and added some more food. But the food, like, it was, I think we went from having like 520 grams the day before to like 450 the morning of for two of the meals, I think. And then that after the prejudging, we had like 300 grams of, I'm not grams of rice. That's the grams I'm talking about. So we went lighter, but I think it kind of worked well for my stomach, just so I wasn't too bloated. But we had like a good amount of like ghee butter in there and almond butter and stuff to hold me over. So I really enjoyed Matt's peaking methods. I think they're good. Yeah, I really liked it. I really enjoyed it.
Okay, so you mentioned the carbs, but you also told me like how much almond butter you were having the day before the show, and
Mhm.
to me that was surprising because Blake, I don't know if you know, but he was taking 40 grams of almond butter with every meal.
Sounds delicious.
S- So, any like did you ask Matt like the reasoning behind that? Did you feel like your stomach was getting a bit of like distension from all that nut butter, or you were perfectly fine?
No, no, I don't think I had any distension, to be
No?
honest. I
Okay.
think even like we're pushing like up to like 520 grams of rice
Right. Yeah.
in some of those, and like I was fine. I think for me, the one thing is as long as I'm not having sweeteners and stuff, I
Okay.
can metabolize like any amount and like my stomach will be okay. I did start to hold a little bit of water, but that wasn't too bad.
Yeah. Okay.
I wonder if it's partly like a cortisol thing too, because like obviously prejudging is so meaningful. You haven't been on stage in a while, like you get the jitters out kind of thing, and then you come back and it's like kind of everything is not done, but like finals is a bit different of a feeling walking on stage. Like I know for me anyway, like I sleep like shit the night before, like prejudging comes around, I'm nervous and whatever, and then once it's over, you're like, oh, a huge weight off your shoulders, and then you kind of come back at the night show and you just feel like you know, it's like it's done, so there's much less pressure. And I think maybe that could perhaps led to a drier look too.
Yeah, that definitely could play a role, man. Like I was definitely a bit less stressed. I mean, I don't even think I was stressed at all, but I never feel stressed, but I'm sure there is some sort of nerves in the morning.
Hmm.
Like so, but this show, I'm not gonna lie, man, the experience, obviously the look and like, that stuff sucks, but the experience leading up to it, like getting to New York or to New Jersey, because it's in New Jersey, uh, meeting with people, meeting with the content creators, meeting with Matt, hanging out with Nick, hanging out with Nick's family, doing the chat. This was the best like experience I had in bodybuilding. Like this was like the best weekend, and it would have been so much better if I topped it off with a win, but I got sixth instead.
And what do you think makes you feel like this was like the best weekend? Because obviously, like you mentioned, like meeting all of these people, but isn't that something that kind of happened in all the shows you're doing anyways? Like what do you feel was different that time?
Mentally, I thought I was the most prepared.
Okay.
I believe I was confident in like one, like myself, my physique. I was the most confident in my posing that I've ever been. I was confident in my coach, of course, and I just believed we were going to bring it. So because of that, like sometimes you're like not sure. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, like what if like what if the peak goes wrong and I'm soft, like blah blah blah. Like
Hmm.
I had like 100% confidence going into the show. So that like I've never been able to just go in and enjoy every moment,
Okay.
but this time I did until I got on stage.
Is there any like specific posing differences that you're gonna make in Toronto, like that you look back on you didn't like in New York?
I mean, Matt, okay, there's a couple of things Matt changed in my posing, like 2 days out, 1 day out. And I think, listen, I still think this was my best posing, even though there were like plans I had for my presentation that were changed by Matt. Like there were certain things that were changed. So like I had to kind of improvise at times, but I still like, there's a couple of things that I want to go back to, like the pushing the adductors up in the back poses. I think like I looked at the pictures. I looked at some pictures. Like Gilco just sent some really good pictures. I'm gonna post them very soon, guys. Not all of them, but the back poses, like when with my hips pushed forward, there's a huge gap in there, man. And also, yeah, I was under muscled, but there's such a big gap, and I think it looks retarded.
So you
Personally.
think pushing glutes up to show adductors is better than like driving the hips in and like locking down on the glute?
Well, when you're like me and you're super tall, you got these fucking like 7 feet long legs. It just there's a huge gap. I'll show you the picture after. But
Mm.
like Matt is like very glute focused. Like, and that's kind of like again, that's the reason why he pushed me so hard, because he was like really like hyper focused on like strategy glutes, strategy glutes, strategy glutes. And I think that's kind of his thing. But I do believe, I mean, I'll speak to any judge that I can get some information from. And my posing coach obviously wanted me to push it back. But when I look at the picture, like, I don't know. Like, I don't think it looks as good. I think there's better flow and balance when it looks like I got mass on top and on bottom than just at the top and then there's a big space in the middle. So I'm gonna like, I gotta figure that part out because they kind of clash in terms of what they want from me. But I definitely, looking back, I prefer the hips up or hips back.
Well, you got to pose with what you're working with at that time, right? So like maybe when you're going to be 280, pushing the hips in or pulling actually is going to look better. But for now, because I know what you mean, like obviously you being a bit under muscled right now and having lost a bit of muscle, pushing out will kind of help create an illusion that there's more muscle there and like fill that hole. So that does make sense.
And that guy, that Ukrainian guy that won the 212, Oleg
Yeah.
or whatever,
Yeah.
but like, he pushes up, and he's down to a T because he could contract the fuck out of those glutes.
Yeah.
That's the thing, right? Some guys can do that and then still squeeze the glute and make it like striated while it's up. I don't know how guys do that, but it's definitely a worthwhile skill in perfecting. I think.
Yeah. Well, because there's a like there's a line where you can kind of push out, but not fully. You can still kind of contract and get your adductors to stick out. So obviously it's just playing with it, but like what's his name? The bald guy that used to be have like the most insane glute control. Lucas,
Yeah.
like he could do that like perfectly. So obviously it works for some guy. Even Regan does that and it works just fine for him.
There's certain shots too that like you and I both have big asses. So like if we're on the, like if I'm facing side, like hitting a side chest and I don't contract my glute, it just looks like way disproportionate to my hamstring. So like I have to be like hyper focused on keeping it in. And then I think too in that back pose, like if you hinge hips up, like if they're not contracted, the butt just looks too big and throws off the balance too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you both have good points. Like Julian saying, like being undersized, it'll be a different look than being full. And maybe hips forward will look better when I'm like full because the adductors will show more. So it's something that I kind of got to play around with. But yeah, I need to nail fully contracting it if I'm going to do it because yeah, even though I do think Akeem's condition is from the side is always amazing, from the back is sometimes
holding him back.
Yeah, and Hassan, same thing. Like his condition is usually, I think he has that condition where they just grow too much muscle or whatever it's called. Hassan, I think he has a hard. Like I've heard he does like 2 hours of cardio and he's still fucking huge.
Yeah, eats nothing too, right? Like crazy.
Heard, man, it's crazy. He really loves bodybuilding, man. So yeah, like I think against those guys, I can get away with it, but I still want to be striated. I still want to have the advantage over them. So I'm going to practice my ass off to nail it with the hips pushed back. But at the end of the day, even if I can't, I got the hips forward on smash. Like it's so easy for me. So if I can't figure it out, I'll just go back to that.
A question you probably won't like, but having had so many comments about it, I want to touch on the classic thing. And I want your perspective on, like, obviously, you're not going to lose 25 pounds of stage weight to make classic. But I want to know if there was no weight cap for classic and you were told that you could keep this look and compete in the classic division, would you make the switch to classic or you would still be in the mindset of, I want to get bigger and I want to be an open guy?
Well, I still, if I could come in at 270, sure. Because I don't want to, because listen, for me to get down to 260, bro, the 2 hours of cardio and the eating little bits of food, like, listen, I did it, but I don't know if I would keep wanting to. I don't know if I would constantly do that. So, but yeah, like if I could do it at 270, fuck yeah, of course. Give me those black shorts, man.
Because you know, like some guys would be like, I don't like this look. I just want to be as big as I can. But for you, it's not that. It's more like making weight is just too taxing, and like obviously that it probably even has a negative impact on your health, right? Having to push
100%.
so much.
I'm pretty happy you can't do
Yeah.
classic, to be honest.
Honestly, bro, I'm telling you, even if I could make weight, I don't think my physique would look the same. I think I get smoked by so many guys that
Yeah,
aren't.
it's the making weight thing that would just kill you.
Oh,
Like
for sure.
it would be horrible,
Yeah.
horrible process to do that, right? You probably maybe you'll do it once and then never again. So there's
I
really
don't.
no.
I don't know. Like, I mean, I think it's an interesting topic. Like the pathway for me to do it, I think I'd have to go completely natural for like a couple of years.
Mhm.
Somehow eat like, I don't know, like 2,000, 2,500 calories every day, no anabolics whatsoever, and just actually cut weight organically and then make a push at it using minimal PD. That's the only way that it could probably work. But if I'm coming from like, listen, that bit of food, like, it wasn't a bit of food, actually, it was muffins, cookies, McDonald's, breakfast. But bro, I shot up pretty much like 277, from 263. So like that, my body, I'll go to 300. I could get to 300 in a day. I
Yeah.
get to 300 in one night if I just play my cards wrong. Getting down to 240 is a nightmare right now.
Yeah.
I
And
just can't.
You're just way too like I'm near the top of my cutoff, and you're way bigger than I am. So it's like I can even see, putting on a little bit more size and struggling at the cutoff. So like you have at least 25 pounds of muscle on me. It's just impossible. Like I'm one of the bigger guys in the classic division. Like now I feel like, and like you're just light years ahead of me in
yeah.
terms of muscle mass. So there's no way. That's like
Mm,
it's just put it to bed, people. It's done.
yeah. No, because
It's over.
yeah, because the classic art is an argument. Like if you were to cut down to actually make weight, your physique wouldn't be a winning physique anyways. Like you would just create gaps everywhere. So people are like comparing pictures of you at your current weight, stage look, to classic guys, to Chris or whatever. And then like at that weight, yeah, that's a look that could win, but you're 25 pounds over your weight cap. So
Yeah.
It's amazing, but like there are examples of people doing it though, right? Like Florian, he came down, did classic,
yeah,
and
but
now
his
he went
look,
back to
yeah, because
open.
his look suffered from it,
But
right?
then like there's guys like Stefan, like he's with Patrick now, and
Yeah,
he's I think still like 12, 15 pounds over his cutoff.
yeah,
And he has like every fiber in his chest you can see. And I'm just like, how can this guy possibly lose 15 pounds? Like, I guess it's water to a certain extent, but it's just like there are guys that make those crazy cuts,
But
and then pull
he
it off. Like
hasn't made
Breon does it too.
but Stefan hasn't made it happen at the highest level yet, though. When he's
no,
competed, he kind of like was underwhelming.
Mhm.
And he has a great physique, but it's like he has to lose so much to do it.
Yeah,
yes,
maybe that's holding him back, right?
yeah, because that's the thing. Like
Maybe
right now,
Patrick, sorry?
because that's the thing. Right now, he looks great, but with 15 pounds off, he won't look as impressive.
Hmm. For
Yeah,
sure.
it's tough. He has a crazy physique, though.
Oh, it's beautiful physique.
I'm curious. Because the thing is, sometimes it just takes the right bit of calculations to be able to pull the water out and get you hydrated again.
Yeah,
So maybe Patrick could do it. Maybe Patrick could do it and have him look how he looks day to
right
day
now,
on stage.
yeah,
So yeah, and my fingers are crossed for them, but I just think even if they could do it once, can you do it twice?
Hmm.
yeah. So speaking of classic, Quinton, who do you see as the top three in Toronto?
Blake, I was gonna say Basil. I have a client and he looks like a Nas. Blake, Nas, and who else is doing it?
Is Nas Nile? Is his name Nile? Is it the
Yes, yeah,
guy from the UK, right?
yeah. Neil, I think. But
Neil.
yeah,
Okay.
him. Yeah, you like your look and his look are fucking crazy. You guys have good physiques, both really conditioned. I don't really know who else is doing it.
There's a lot of question marks of guys that are like in shape that I have thoughts of that they might be doing it. Like I think Kellen might do it, but I'm not certain. I think there's a good chance Tyler Johnson does it. Like he's in shape and he's close to the cutoff. There's even the guy from Quebec looks good too. What's his
Jimmy?
name? Jimmy. Yeah, Jimmy looks good too. I don't know if you've seen him, Quinton, but he's like pretty dense. Has some good features for sure. Outside of that, yeah, I really like, I'm realistic with the whole thing. Like I think it'll be myself and Neil or Nile or whatever, however you say his name.
Yeah, I think so too. For top two, for the third, I don't know.
Yeah.
As long as you don't go and binge on dessert and food and post videos about saying fuck.
Listen, that video did well though. And I like it was funny because I was like, dude, I hummed and hawed over that for so long. And then I just like I made it and I was showing it to Cody, right?
Yeah.
And then Cody is like, dude, like pulls Dorian over and he's like, you have to see this video. So then they were both watching it and they're like, this is hilarious. Like you
Yeah,
have to share it.
it
And
is.
they fully peer pressured me into posting it
Well, it
because there's a
worked.
while there. What's that?
You posted it.
Oh, I posted it. Yeah.
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 So for those that are not aware, I think we're gonna share it.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
sure.
Bring it up, Julian.
Yeah.
Is there sound on here? There's no sound.
There's no sound?
I don't hear it. Do you?
No, I know.
Oh. Okay, so there's no sound, but he's just screaming fuck, fuck, fuck.
Yeah. It's basically me hitting a shot and then him crying in his car. But there's a couple of reasons I did it. Like I thought it would be fun for people on the outside watching to maybe create a little bit of buzz around it. And B, like I didn't post it as like an actual personal, like an attack on him. I just posted it more as a joke. So he was actually really cool about it. Like he messaged me right away being like, dude, this is fucking hilarious. And I didn't know how he was gonna take it, right? I thought maybe he'd be like, yo, like you're a fucking piece of shit. I hate you. But he took it as like this is funny and it's better that way, right? So he posted
Sure.
something about like comparing our back shots after.
Really?
Yeah. And then like was saying some stuff, but nothing too bad.
Okay.
But yeah, it'll be like Brandon has a good structure, there's no doubt. He gives up so much size that he's not gonna be able to hang with the I don't know, top three, I wouldn't think, but just his structure alone will carry him. And I think he has a strong shot at top five.
Good. So, Quinton, next 2 weeks, what's the plan training wise? Are you still doing the same thing? Because you talked about like lowering cardio, right? Uh, any other things that you guys talked about, you and Matt, for just getting some size back?
No, nothing specific. We had a conversation just about like what we think went wrong and what our expectation is for the next one. And yeah, but we didn't really like I'm just back to training on the 4-day split. I switched the days around, so I'm doing chest on Monday and back Tuesday before is back on Monday. But yeah, now what I'm doing is I've decided because he likes fasted cardio. I told him I'm not doing cardio in the morning anymore. I'm gonna do it in the evening, which is
Yeah.
something that we spoke about before, but then obviously he wanted to push the fat loss and he's like, listen, just do it. And he
Yeah.
like pretty much just dig deep and work out because I am very sensitive to the use of Clen.
Yep.
Like I noticed at one point, maybe at like 12 weeks out, we raised Clen from like 20 mcg to like 40, and my deadlifts instantly went down that week. Like
Really?
instant. Yeah, by like 50 pounds and like 2 reps. Like I was like noticeably weaker. And I remember telling him like, yo, what the heck? And we started implementing a high day the day before at that point. And like at that point, the tactics of the prep were good because we were prioritizing like certain muscle groups and staying full and being on point for certain workouts. But once it started to get more about fat loss, I think that's where things kind of went wrong. And I think also I maybe I could have been more vocal. I was just so caught up in being like that client that just shuts up, puts his head down
Yeah.
and works. And I think more data could have helped him, because realistically, I'm not constantly pushing, doesn't work for me. Like, I think with Dorian 2 years ago, my glutes were strided at like 272. Like, I was like, I'll get lean at a heavy weight, but like when I was pushed, like it didn't translate. It took me like longer to get there, you know. So we dropped clen, so my workout quality has improved. Obviously, with less cardio, my workout quality has improved. I don't train clients in the morning anymore unless it's a rest day. So I wake up, I have 2 meals, I'm hydrated, and all my energy goes into my training.
Okay,
Like all my
nice.
energy. And I can go train clients at the gym in the late afternoon, evening, maybe like 1 or 2, but that's it. And I do my cardio in the evening, 30 minutes. That's it, done for the day. But my priority is the training. So that's what I've done to enhance, to enhance building the muscle, or building that muscle back. But I like where it's going so far. You know, I feel pretty full. I like what I see in the mirror so far. Holding a little bit of water from the weekend, but
Yeah.
we'll see how that goes down next couple of days.
All right. Anything else we can expect facial hair wise? Any change?
I'm probably gonna come in the same.
Lose the little like
It,
goatee thing, man. Just go mustache with me. We
it
could be
could happen.
mustache brothers, man.
Listen, that could definitely happen. I'm not gonna lie. I would like a good thin stash. I could do that.
We only hang out with people that have mustaches at that point.
You know what to do.
You can't hang with us backstage if you don't have a mustache. I'm sorry.
All right.
Quinton was the first guest we had on here, so honestly, thank you, man, for
Thank
coming on.
you.
We really appreciate it.
My pleasure, man. All it took was for me to not do 2 hours of cardio a day. I can make it work.
Yep. So you guys both have your show in 3 weeks, a bit less than 3 weeks. And hopefully it goes well for both of you. I'm sure it will. And Quinton, well, that's going to be your chance to redeem yourself, shut people up. And even like brand wise, you said that this was hurting your brand, but I'm 100% sure there's a way to twist that and actually use that kind of in between period to push it into something nice brand wise. Like it could be just like t-shirts saying like not classic or some shit like that. Like
Yeah.
there's opportunities in everything. And I feel like this is gonna, as much as it can be seen as a deception, it can also work in a very positive way if Toronto turns thing around.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's definitely a better outlook than I had on it before. I was just looking at it very negatively. But yeah, that is a good idea.
There was so much build up around it too, and I think that that's just going to carry over into this show, and you're going to have that opportunity to, like, I don't think it, from my perspective, I don't think it hurt your brand at all. I think if anything, more people are paying attention, and some maybe for the wrong reason, but I think as many people as are going to come out and be trolls, there's just as many people that want to see you prove those guys wrong, and to like there's a lot of people I've seen that like openly love your physique and talk highly about your structure and everything. And I think even myself personally, like I just can't wait for you to put the pieces together. And I know that in New York you wanted it to be that weekend and it wasn't, but everybody, with a half decent head on their shoulders is looking at those pictures and everything. And it's still, I know you hate the potential thing, but the possibility of, when you do nail it, and whether it's this year, next year, whatever, we know that that's going to come, and hopefully it's in Toronto.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I hope so too. You want to know something funny? Actually, the night of the show, I woke up because I had a meal in between, like scheduled for like 2:30, 3 a.m. And I checked my phone, and Phil Heath followed me. the night before New York Pro. And I'm like, oh my God,
That's
Philly
nice.
is finally on board the Beastwood train, man. He's fine. And then I came fucking sick, man. I was so
he showed up at the worst time, eh?
I know, man. Like, should have waited 3 weeks.
Did he unfollow you?
I didn't check. I don't even want to check. I want to find out.
Oh man.
All right. Well, thanks for your time, Q. Obviously, we're gonna talk again, and we're gonna give people news for our Toronto goes and all that kind of stuff. And Blake, next week you're gonna be away. Well, you're gonna be here, but not in
Yeah, I'm gonna be on the
Ontario.
podcast, but I'll be doing it from Atlanta. I'm flying down on Tuesday to stay with Cam for the week,
Oh,
and
nice.
then when we come back here, he's gonna come with me and help me peak. We get back here June 4th, leading into the show.
Are you staying at home with Cam?
I'm staying at his house. He lives outside of Atlanta.
Sorry, I mean when you come back to Toronto.
When I come back to Toronto, I believe he's going to be coming here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
With the baby, the dogs.
Yeah, we're still trying to figure out exactly what that looks like. Like Sarah might, for just like a couple days leading into the show, like stay at her parents. Just so it's a little bit like more, low key. It's pretty crazy over here most of the time. But I'm still kind of playing it by ear. Like this was a little bit of a last second decision to even make the trip down there because obviously there's so much going on up here and like you're in a routine and stuff too, right? So like there was some question marks and everything around that, but I just think that it's kind of a really neat opportunity that not many people get the chance to do. So if I'm going to be able to do it, then I want to be able to make it happen. And I think being with him and seeing day-to-day changes and everything, and if I'm maybe a little bit behind, he wants to push me harder. I'm in an environment where it's like, man, I can be a piece of shit. When I'm at home here, like I got Walker, like Sarah's around, like it's I try and put on the best face possible through prep, but you guys know what it's like. It's not easy at this stage. So it's just going to be an opportunity for me to be able to like put the blinders up and just like do like full-time bodybuilding and not in-person training and too much going on with clients and business and that kind of thing. So I can't wait, man. I think it's going to be a really cool experience. And yeah, I'm going to be coming on here, hopefully with Cam. I think Cam will obviously jump on with us too. We could talk a little bit more about it.
Right on. That's wicked, man.
All right.
Yeah, you should come too, Quinn.
Yeah, you could.
I think Cam's got an extra bedroom down there for you, bud.
I'll book it tonight.
All right. So thanks for your time, Q. And if you guys liked the episode, or even if you didn't, like and subscribe.
Yeah, but I hope the haters watch this so that they can talk shit on our comments and they go crazy on here because I want that type of feedback.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate you guys.
Right.
Appreciate you, buddy.
Yeah.